If you were looking for a fresh outlook that will expand your horizon, obviously you can find it in American academia. And how about the How to Globalize the Intifada? Explanation mark. Yes, this is a workshop or a panel that the city of New York is offering or has offered as part of this anti-racism conference. And again, promoting this panel with this very sexy title and deleting it after facing criticism. And wait, because it does not end here. Instead of the panel that was criticized, the Intifada one, you guessed it right. The only thing that can promote Jew hate more than Intifada, a panel on anti-Semitism. All right, the only man who can make sense of this insanity, David Christopher Kaufman, obviously, Adjunct Fellow at the Tel Aviv Institute, DCK. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, we would probably have called you to talk to us about this in the pre-October 7th universe too, because it's simply bananas. But in the post-October 7th reality, it is more than just infuriating. It is beyond description.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, thank you for having me. I think the first question is, how is it 4 months after, the brutal Hamas attack on Israel, over 100 Israeli hostages still being held in Gaza, most likely many of them the victims of sexual violence, possibly women pregnant. How is it possible 4 months after all this has happened that CUNY, one of the biggest public education institutions in the country, has decided to create a panel like this, globalizing the Intifada? The fact that it's been all of these months of blatant anti-Semitism, still they would present a panel like this is infuriating and just makes you even more, I guess, concerned about the entrenchment of anti-Semitism in the academy right now, and the fact that nothing seems to stop it. Again, this also ties into the burgeoning issue of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's really roiling through America corporate and academic institutions right now. Claudine Gay, her dismissal from Harvard really laid bare the impact of DEI on academics, on the academy, and corporations right now. And the big issue for Jews is that DEI, which is a structured, formalized protection of minorities, which is important in this country, doesn't generally include Jews. Jews are not recognized under the structure of DEI in any form. In fact, Jews are often considered the reason why we need DEI. And DEI creates a kind of hierarchy of oppression that really pits Jews against, almost every other minority, particularly African Americans. Right. So this really exposes the failures and the shortcomings of DEI right now.
But you mentioned Claudine Gay, and once again, the solution only deepens the problem, because Claudine Gay is out. Who will replace her? A Jew. No Intifada panel. Put anti-Semitism instead. Like, seriously?
Yeah, I mean, listen. At the end of the day, right now, you have this sort of burgeoning quest for most oppressed status between various typically kind of marginalized communities in the United States. African Americans, LGBTs, women, Hispanics. I personally am half Black, half Jewish, so I'm very attuned to this. And this really puts these groups against Jews. And the problem is that in every single instance, Jews will always come out on the losing side, because there's this perception that Jews are the cause of discrimination, the cause of oppression in this country, and that if Jews experience it as we are now, as we have seen a 300+% increase in anti-Semitic attacks since October 7th. But the idea is that if Jews experience anti-Semitism right now, we are the cause of it. We have caused our own anti-Semitism. That would never happen for any other minority group. If somebody were to suggest that Black people were responsible for their own racism, they'd be canceled before the sentence even came out of their mouth. So there's this unending double standard for Jews, and the most concerning part of it is that it leaves Jews exposed and vulnerable at the most threatening period of our existence in the United States.
It does seem, however, David, before we thank you, that the DEI is becoming, is on the fast track to wokeism. Woke became this, really contagious term now. And again, it seems that DEI is on its way there too.
Yes, I mean, DEI in many ways is just sort of institutionalized racism. It's more formalized, institutionalized wokeness and more formalized wokeness. And I will say, as somebody who is half African American, I don't necessarily believe that DEI should be canceled. The problem isn't necessarily DEI. The problem is that DEI exists to exclude Jews. DEI exists in a way that doesn't afford Jews the same protections as every other minority group in the United States. And this, to me, is the core problem with DEI. A lot of people are saying that DEI should be dismantled. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, I also think that racism should be dismantled, and we could talk about that then. But for the moment, the big complaint with DEI is that it fails to account for the needs of Jews. It excludes Jews. It fails to protect Jews. And most concerning of all, it in many ways blames Jews for their own anti-Semitism and blames Jews for the imperiled position in which they find them in today. And that is unacceptable.
David Christopher Kaufman calling the bluff. Thank you very much, as always, for your time.